Ladies and gentlemen, we are 3 days out. Saturday, April 16th. Unified title bout. Errol Spence Jr., your Dennis Ugas. I've covered this fight pretty well, but I'm covering it even more. I'm breaking it down even more, getting more nuanced, providing more detail, and more information so you guys can make informed decisions when you go out there and make your picks. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. Let's get right into it right now. So like I said before, I've covered this fight up and down, and I went back over the tape and I wanted to give you guys a little bit more information about these fighters, some number statistics, and a couple of things to consider in addition to what we've already talked about, discussed, mentioned in comment sections or whatever the case may be. So the number one thing I want to get into, or the first thing I guess I should say I want to get into, is Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. He do got a little one. Anyway, Errol Spence Jr., his ability to get on the inside. And when I talk about getting on the inside, it's not simply closing the distance and smothering your opposition. It's his ability to continue to land combination punches to the face, to the body, and destroy his opposition and break their will systematically over the course of the bout. I'll put some clips right here, and you just kind of get an example of what it looks like to be standing chest to chest with an individual essentially, and still being able to clip them, hurt them, body them at nose to nose distance. Typically, you see a guy, let's say he throws a jab, close the distance, right hand over the top, whatever, resets, and does the process over again. When Errol Spence gets inside, his work doesn't end up being smothered. He still ends up putting damage on the opposition and performing at a high level. I think this is pertinent to discuss because we know your Dennis Ugas defensively is a little bit limited. He loves the high guard. He loves trying to read beyond the high guard and then counter you to the body, which we'll discuss a little bit later. In the Sean Porter fight, if you take a look at it, that's probably the most head movement I've ever seen him utilize. He did actually a fairly effective job slipping shots in order to get his counters off. But by and large, your Dennis Ugas is there to be hit. And this is why this particular point is notable because Errol Spence Jr. does know how to find his way in, and he does know how to continue to do damage. The second thing that I think about when I think about Errol that I haven't discussed or I haven't seen discussed a lot is Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. again. Shout out to his little ones. Errol Spence's ability to take a good shot. Kell Brook, Chris Van Heerden, Sean Porter. These are some of the guys that really got off really great shots, head-turning shots on Errol Spence Jr. His ability to accept that, take that, you don't want to do that repeatedly, but his ability to do that, bounce back, be defensively sound pretty much at all times, and then get damage of his own is impressive. And the other thing I think about with Errol Spence is out of all of his professional bouts, obviously we know he's undefeated. He's never been knocked down, never been dropped. You don't see him wear a lot of damage. Even the Kell Brook fight where he took those shots that you guys see in the clips, when the fight was over, he looked pretty clean. The only fights that I can think of where he took damage where it was visible toward the end, Sean Porter fight, I think under the right eye, he had some damage. And then against Danny Garcia, his forehead was lumped up a little bit. But outside of that, and those are two of the best opponents that he's had, so it's natural to get hit by guys who are better. He doesn't wear damage, and I think this is notable once again because your Dennis Ugas is not coming to bang you down like that. He's not bodying anybody. He dropped Ray Robinson, but as far as hurting a dude and kind of just rearranging their face and making them look a certain way, that's not your Dennis Ugas. And for a guy like Errol Spence Jr., who does have a higher output, you got to figure out a way to keep him off of you. Errol Spence Jr., when I think about him, I think about Canelo Alvarez. Now, Canelo's a little more disrespectful. If you can't get his respect off rip, he's going to walk you down and just punch the shit out of you. Errol Spence Jr. at least maintains his defensive responsibility. If y'all hear a crazy ass noise in the background, my bad. They're picking up the garbage out front right now. So my bad, it's bad timing on my part. But anyway, Errol Spence Jr.'s ability to take a good shot. He's worn better shots than I think he'll get in the Ugas fight. That's no disrespect, but he's built and he's ready for this. And I feel like that's one of the things that we'll see play out in this particular fight where Errol Spence is coming downhill and steamrolling Ugas in certain areas. Hopefully Ugas can stand up to it. I'm not sure he can. And this won't come as a surprise to anybody. Errol Spence Jr.'s body punching is ridiculous. Take a look at the clips. I mean, I could put a clip on this video from every single fight that he's been a part of, but these are some of the more impressive ones, especially the Lamont Peterson one because I look at Lamont Peterson and his stance and how he's situated in that particular bout. And I've said this before, if Ugas plans to be in the shell on a semi-regular basis versus Errol Spence, I can't see this being a long night. I just can't see it. And we're going to cover that a little bit more too. So when I think about Errol, I think it's obvious at this point, based on what you guys have seen in the clips and based on what I've said, that I'm really feeling like Errol is going to win this fight. And I'm being modest in that delivery. I think Errol Spence is going to beat Ugas' ass. And Ugas is a good fighter. Ugas is a good fighter. But what can Ugas do to stem the tide? One of the things, and you'll see in the clips here, one of the things that Ugas does really well, I mean, I think if you go back to when he was at 140 pounds, well, y'all probably don't even know that. He got an L out of 140 pounds. But if you go back and look, he loves to counter to the body. Left hand, right hand. You see the clips. He'll let you commit whatever you're going to commit, and he'll just, it doesn't even matter. If you go downstairs, he's going to go downstairs. You go upstairs, he's going to go downstairs. He loves throwing that shot to the body and keeping guys honest. In the Shawn Porter fight, that's really what the main issue for Shawn Porter was, because he out-jabbed Ugas, much to my surprise. But the body punching and the stalking of Yordenis Ugas was problematic for Shawn Porter. He almost lost that damn fight. In my opinion, I feel like he did lose the fight, but he got the nod on the card. Shout out to Shawn Porter. But the digging to the body, committing to the body, slowing the opposition down, and then mounting your own offense once you've stymied theirs, that's Ugas' bread and butter. Before I was, oh, you know, his jab and this, that, and the other. Nah. And what I'm going to get into here in a second, his ability to dig to the body on the counter, and the variety in his right hand. But we'll cover that here in a second. The thing that I talked about a little bit earlier when it comes to Yordenis Ugas and Errol Spence's pressure and what he does to his opposition is that shell. Put a couple clips in the video here. It allows him to see. He protects himself for the most part. But like I said before, this is a position that he puts himself in on a regular basis. It will not be effective against Errol Spence Jr. Your ass will get caught slipping. Don't do it. They talk about often when you mention Yordenis Ugas, the Cuban school of boxing. So you think about guys like Tito Trinidad, Yuriorkis Gamboa, Guillermo Redendao. These guys were movers that had excellent lateral movement, pizzazz, dazzle, whatever you want to call it. Yordenis Ugas likes to fight. He comes in there, he sets his butt down, he puts that high guard up, and he trades shots. He does it effectively well, but like they say, styles make fights, and I don't think this is the fight he needs to utilize that particular delivery system. His ass need to get on his bike a little bit, move laterally, which he can do, utilize way more head movement like he did in the Shawn Porter fight, or he's just going to get beat on by Errol Spence Jr. And then, like I mentioned, Ugas' right hand, the righty, he throws the right hand. So he'll dig it to the body, he'll throw it around the guard, and then you'll catch you slipping on a counter on a straight right shot. I didn't put this clip in here, but the Ray Robinson on the second knockdown, which I think took place in the 7th round, that's a beautiful right hand. Ray Robinson is trying to angle off to his left, gets caught, no, his right, gets caught by the right hand by Yordenis Ugas, gets put on his butt, then eventually gets stopped. But when you have, that's high level boxing. The variety in that right hand, some guys got a nice overhand right, some dudes throw it right off the shoulder real clean, real crisp. Some guys got the lead right hand, but he can do it all from that side. And that's shown to be a problem for Errol Spence in spots, especially against Danny Garcia had a lot of success against Errol Spence, getting the right hand off to the body as well as upstairs. But it's going to be an incredible fight nonetheless. But one thing I find to be interesting is you see some interviews floating around on the internet. And guys like, Errol, you coming back, and Yordenis Ugas, he's a tough combatant, and I'm not even slighting Ugas like that. But I think from a media coverage perspective, it's time for us to be more obvious or more honest about the opposition. I think Ugas is good. Ugas is a champion. Ugas lumped up Pacquiao. If you look at the styles, if you look at recent bouts, I don't see it for Ugas. And Saturday comes and I'm wrong, I can accept that. But I know the information that I provide will be mostly right and in how the fight plays out. Unless Ugas just comes out and just Deontay Wilder right hands Errol Spence out of there, which is not likely at all. But I think it's time for cats to be a little bit more honest about what we're talking about. Now, some facts that I wrote down because I don't want to mess this up that I wanted to provide real quick. So, Yordenis Ugas fought Manny Pacquiao. He won convincingly. In that particular bout, Pacquiao threw 815 punches. Yordenis Ugas only threw 405 punches, but he was far more accurate and obviously far more powerful. Against Shawn Porter, Yordenis Ugas threw 449 punches. Porter threw 515 punches. Porter won on the jab side, but the body punching of Yordenis Ugas slowed Porter down definitively. I bring these two numbers up because of this. We talk about Errol Spence's output. Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter, both over 700 punches thrown. If you go back to Mikey Garcia, he threw 1,028 punches, excuse me. He throws a ridiculous amount of punches. For a guy like Yordenis Ugas who doesn't have a high output and a questionable defense, I need someone to convince me how he's going to get this done. I just need to know how. Based on those numbers, someone's got to show it to me because I'm not seeing it. But that's my time. This is your boy JG. This has been the Punch Report. You guys have been amazing. I'll probably do one more video to highlight the weigh-ins. But after that, there's no more talking. We just got to see it on Saturday. It's your boy JG, Punch Report. Like, subscribe, bell icon for notification. We out.